When's the last time you changed your mind?
Oh, all the time. This is underrated. I mean, I used to be a Silicon Valley elitist. I was like the worst offender ever. Like up until like 2-ish years ago, or maybe 3. I remember internally even, Peter would want to move Founders Fund outside the Bay Area, and he moved outside the Bay Area 2015, I think. And he was always on this crusade that we needed to get Founders Fund outside the Bay Area. And I used to think he was like crazy. I'd be like, like this thinking when he's making these arguments.
That's what made you think he was crazy?
What?
That's what made you think he was crazy?
Yeah, well, I agreed with most of the other stuff. No, but like
that's
I
what
was,
we call a softball.
I would only invest in like companies in Silicon Valley. I had maybe sub 10% of my portfolio of investments was outside Silicon Valley until 2019. And then obviously I changed pretty radically. And the epiphany, COVID obviously magnified the epiphany, but the epiphany was not from COVID. It was in February 2020. I met this founder from Germany, from Berlin, showed up in my office. And I didn't even want to take the meeting, honestly. Like my colleague Matthias, who you know, was constantly trying to force me to take this damn meeting. I kept trying to cancel it. And he's like, no, you got to take this meeting, you got to take the meeting. I'm like, cancel. He's like, take the meeting too. Anyway, I show up finally. I sit down. 3 minutes into the presentation, I was like, oh my God, we need to invest. And so I was just like,
Why?
Hold on, I'll come down. So I was just like, oh my God, need to invest. And so I was basically selling the founder on like working with us the whole time. So I walk out of the meeting and Matthias like taps me on the shoulder. At the time we'd only worked together for like about a year. We didn't know each other as well. So he taps me on the shoulder and he's like, what happened to you? It's like, what happened? Like, you barely wanted to take the meeting. And I was like, you just found the greatest founder in the history of Europe. And like, we're investing. And so, but that epiphany of like the single, I sometimes call him the Michael Jordan. But if Michael Jordan is sitting in Berlin, then the epiphany was then why the hell do I need to be just sitting in Silicon Valley? And why are all the entrepreneurs sitting in Silicon Valley? Because this guy had never been to Silicon Valley before this fundraising trip. He had no connection to Silicon Valley. There was no side channel of information. The Nubank example is a little different because they went to Stanford Business School, one worked at Sequoia. So yes, they built a great and very impressive company in Brazil, but they had a lot of infusion of Silicon Valley thinking and people and networks. Christian at Trade Republic had 0. He'd learned it all sort of online and through osmosis. And I was like, great, well, if Michael Jordan's sitting in Berlin, then the days of Silicon Valley are over.